Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. Welcome to another podcast of Harvesting Wisdom. I'm your host, Mike McMahon. With me today, Deb. Deb, I got to look at your last name.
Martinez.
I forgot it already.
Martinez.
Haim Martinez. Okay, great. Sorry to mess that up, but I pretty much messed up almost every guest I've ever had, so it's kind of a tradition.
It's part of it.
Deb, you were involved with the writing of one of our platform books that we have for urban farming education. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your history. Where'd you grow up? Were you a gardener? Did you go to schools? What schools did you go to? And what got you to the point where you would you'd be a major contributor for us in this book? What motivated you to get to that?
Oh, sure. Well, I actually pretty much grew up here. We
Okay.
moved here when I was pretty young, and one of the nice things about growing up was we always had a garden. So my mom sort of instilled that in me from the beginning, that we were growing tomatoes or vegetables. I remember my dad, we had a pumpkin patch out by our pool, and he would backwash the pool into the pumpkin patch. So
With
we had
the
these
chlorine.
huge, but
And
we
it
had
worked.
these huge pumpkins that year.
Wow.
So, I just remember gardening from growing up. Anyways, fast forward a little bit, I went to college in Portland, Lewis and Clark College, which is very environmentally friendly, and opened me up to a lot of sustainability and topics that I hadn't encountered before. Came back here, went to Arizona State for my master's degree, and in between I've taught, this will be my 35th year of teaching.
Wow.
And predominantly at this point, it's been at the collegiate level, but I did spend
Really?
15 years in the early classroom, so 8 years of kindergarten. And
Okay.
I'm very lucky in my role. I'm a clinical assistant professor at ASU, and part of our actual job description is service. And so we get to pick how we want to serve our community. And through the supervision of my students and student teachers, just having this conversation with what they're seeing in their classrooms when they go to their clinical experiences, it's a lot of isolated math and isolated literacy instruction. And there's just very little time in the day that they've, witnessed of hands-on,
Anything concrete,
really
hands-on.
exciting hands-on projects. And so all these things have sort of come together to lead me to this project group. And
Wow. So you started, I don't know if it's going to a collegiate level is a promotion easier or worse, or staying at that. My mother was a second grade teacher, I think, for like 40 years.
Yeah.
So, and she didn't have any desire to teach a third grade or a fourth grade or anything above that.
Mm-hmm.
But, so people have passion in certain thing, but 8 years in kindergarten, was that kind of the start of your career?
Yeah, well, the very start was 5 years of preschool. And then
preschool,
I
okay.
graduated up to kindergarten for a
Okay.
while. And I was fortunate one year to loop with my students. So I kept all my kindergarteners and taught them first grade. So I had
okay.
that group for 2 years, which was a wonderful experience.
And then from there, did you do any high school or older kids in grade school, straight to collegiate?
Pretty much straight to collegiate. I had a wonderful principal who started pushing me into leadership and mentoring other kindergarten teachers, and then going to the district level to teach professional development to our whole district. And it just kind of sparked from there, where I was asked to teach a class for ASU.
Great. And ASU is like such a, amazing story, really especially since the recent president has been there, and whatever, boards, or what do they call the board in a college level? I can't remember. But they obviously are people who are driving the community. They believe in technology. They believe in working with community and projects like that. So it is doesn't surprise me. The fact that part of your job is working with community and this whole clinical aspect. So, so you were set up. We couldn't have trained somebody to help write a book that was, didn't have that had that kind of background that you did. So, so tell us a little about this, because there's Peter put you first because he was very impressed. So you and Kate and Shonda and Katie and Kim and Peter and Karen were, and did Peter explain to you the concept of the overall platform that we're trying to create and what we're trying to do?
Well, somewhat. I came to it a little bit late because the project team had already started, and then we had this listing, and I was like, oh, that sounds perfect. It was, described as kindergarten gardening, and I always had gardening activities with my kindergarten, all my classes, really.
So perfect.
So it was like, oh, let's see what that's all about.
Yeah, so when we started, I had a community garden downtown, Agave Farms. And then from there, I started doing gardens for schools. And then I think at that point, Peter came on board and Kim came on board, and Kim worked at the community garden. So it's been, I don't know how many, 7 years, 8 years. But we were learning along the way of all the things not to do. Creating a community garden, there's a lot of different aspects, so many different variables. But then even doing gardens for school, like you put a perfect garden in and you got a great teacher, and then the teacher moves on, and so you got a lot of issues with continuity and that kind of thing. But at some point in there, Peter's started creating one of the books, which was, I think, 3rd grade to 6th grade. What he does then is he pilots these teacher development, and he's got his whole system for doing that. If I had known how long this would take, because it's taken forever, but it kind of had to be. They came up with things, brought it into the classroom, had feedback, talked to teachers about it, went back and forth, and he took standards and created curriculum with the standards for that first book, Art Plot of Sunshine. We started building all the other platforms, and one we've been waiting for forever was Microgreens, which you've contributed to. So tell us a little about the book and how it's structured, and what part of it did you kind of get involved with, and how well did you guys work as a team? Were you killing each other? Or did you have fun?
I think we really had fun because we are all science people. So we're teaching, everybody on this list here teaches a science methods class. Okay. Plus Kim, that teaches, through urban farming. Stuff, yeah. So, Chanda and I are at the early childhood level, where the others are at teaching the students with older age groups, older majors. So it kind of started that way, just a love of science, and really noticing, like I said, that science isn't taught as much in the schools with the hands-on. They might read a book about a plant, but they're not actually planting anything. And so we all kind of had this passion that we need to be, getting this to teachers. And also just the shape of education now, where people in the classroom aren't necessarily trained. We have a lot of long-term subs and people who aren't trained in education, and so they're a little more hesitant perhaps to do hands-on learning because it takes a bit more management. Yeah. Especially with kindergarten.
Yeah. So this kind of allows you to have that structure in place, and the thing that throughout school that always got me, and I'm sure kids say it to you, is like, how does this apply to real life? Why am I learning sets of numbers? Why am I learning Latin names? And I'm going through biology and I'm just looking at something in a book, or chemistry. Chemistry really was like, what's the whole point
abstract,
of that? I got it, but it's all abstract, right? And so the concept of, turning that student's curiosity on. So it's really a different way of learning. And how about challenges today? You're still teaching. So, there's books out there, Stolen Focus, I think is one. There's 2 of them out there that talk about the Gen Z, and we all critique whatever generation's coming up. But it's not just them, it's influencing us all, right? If you go online, there's algorithms, there's social media is all algorithm based. Same thing with even watching television, Netflix or whatever. We all get caught into these series and we're addictive and we binge and that kind of thing. And so they call it stolen focus because you're forced into gaming. If you're mostly boys are gaming or porn, or girls are social media where they have body shaming and all kinds of nasty activities, but we see a very large increase in mental illness in that group. But it's not just that group, it's all of us, all the way up to old people, right? So how does that affect the classroom when a kid cannot, he's trained, is trained to not pay attention to anything for more than 3 or 4 or 5 seconds.
Right, they've got that stimulation. They want the stimulation of technology.
So you're taking some boring abstract book and you're talking to them. Does it take a minute for them to fall asleep or start acting up? I mean, that's about it, right? Right,
and even, my student teachers, they've come to me and said, because we have them record a lesson so we can give them some feedback, and they're like, I'm sorry, my teacher makes me put a video into everything. Like every lesson that we teach, we have to have a video. And I was like... It
stimulates the kid or something, huh? Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I understand that,
Right.
And I appreciate that that isn't the case. You don't have to put a video into anything. You can add other hands-on, really engaging elements and make it fun that way. And
so how about
kids will participate.
How about the garden? Do you, I think it's been our experience completely, and now we've done hundreds of schools all over the world, right? That we've done schools that when you tell the kid that today is garden day, it's time to go out, or it's garden time, you can see them like all of a sudden they're not falling asleep at their desk anymore, right? They're like excited.
Yeah, I get to go outside. It's part of it too, because recesses declined so much.
Right, we don't
15-minute recess, right? So we get to go out and garden and see what's growing. And
so it's a better learning method. And then obviously you understand the 4, and I never get this word right, pedagogies. One is inquiry-based learning, one is problem-based learning. Those two I put off to the side and call it critical thinking, which a lot of us don't have now, especially even after getting out of schools or going into the university level, and you don't have the ability to critically think. And then collaborative learning, and then what we call the process communication model is another model out there, which is the idea of talking to someone. It's not, kids have always been a little shy when you have adults in front of them, but because of that authority thing. But today it's even worse because people are not used to talking to each other. They're texting or online or whatever. So that concept of learning how to communicate, look somebody in the eye and hear what they're saying and listen and understanding what perspective they're coming from, or the idea of collaborating. We all think we're individuals, and we do have to do individual work, but the reality is we're always working in some kind of group scenario, right? True. How does that get embedded, those pedagogies, how do they get embedded in the system when you guys were writing?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that point, because I feel too many children will look to the adult to see, I'm going to answer this question, but is it what my parent or my teacher wants me to say? Because that's kind of the structure of things. We, in our book, we just really tried to have a lot of open time for kids to explore things together. So there is time for them to plant their microgreens, and it's a group experience, right? And so they're excited. I'm getting my seeds now and planting them. It's directed towards kindergartners, so the magic of the joy of a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old is just part of it anyways. But we included some other interactive elements that are kind of a real world experience, play-based though. So we thought, how about setting up a play center that's like a farmer's market, so we have a little cash register, so they're practicing their math skills, you know, in the little bags, and maybe play plants or artificial, you know, carrots and potatoes and things. So they can practice the exchange and the communication of selling at a farmer's market, things like that.
So the concept is Peter and I started the whole focus, and we did add the concept of stolen focus, and I kind of, everybody had the Kagan model, but he originally started with problem-based and inquiry-based, which is great. That's, but I was like, it's not enough. You got to add these other things in. Yes. But the idea of Microgreens is, so for people know, and I'll have you explain it, but it's about microgreens. And I always thought this was a great way to do it. And Peter and Kim have had that element in smaller microgreen trays that when they're doing professional development. But we've done it on a bigger scale where you're doing an 8x4, which is a tremendous amount of produce that comes out of that, right? But and I like it because of the cycle. So give me kind of an idea of the overall course, and then explain what one lesson plan that you were involved with that you think was important.
Sure. So we really thought about this to make it, you know, something a teacher could replicate, because that's often you'll go to a professional development training or you'll get a book and it's like, oh, that's a great idea, but you put it off, you don't do it. Right. So it's very easy to implement. You can, we suggest that you use the recycled K-cups, because so many people are using Keurig still and those recycled cups, and they can collect them from grandma or work or wherever. The kids decorate it first, which individualizes it, makes it something that's theirs.
It's also art, bringing art in, right?
Art,
a little bit of aesthetics.
Yeah, it just needs a couple spoons of soil, a couple seeds, and then you cover it very lightly, and they can mist it if it's, you know, you teach them how to test it so they don't overwater, and you know, a 5-year-old's exciting to mist, so maybe have a bin over here to mist if your plant's already wet, right? So you're not,
so you can still mist.
You know how that goes. But yeah, so it's very simple, and then we suggest that you put it in an egg tray, so like a you know, used egg carton. So yes, you can cover it, but you can also bring it over to, let's have circle time and let's look at what's going on and talk about it. But then you can put it back later over at your science center, and the kids can go explore it with their magnifying glass or things like that.
So what's the length? Because what I love about it from a school standpoint is how quick it is that you're doing it. So what's the length from the time you develop your soil, whatever you're going to have, right? That's your substrate you're growing in. And by the way, it doesn't have to be super nutrient rich. It just has to be kind of carbon rich, because the embryo of the seed is what has the energy. So it has the energy to grow itself for that first 2 weeks, right? So
yeah, it's amazing. It's really an 8-day curriculum, because you plan it. 8 days, it's pretty much ready to go.
And that includes 1 weekend, probably.
Yeah, so that's kind of nice too, because it's growing a little bit and everyone's excited. When's it going to come up? And it does come up, but then you have the weekend. Then you come back and the kids are like, oh, look how much bigger it is.
Are you leaving the egg carton on for the entire 8 days, or do you take the top off after it's germinated? 4 days or 5 days?
I would say you can do it either way. The amazing thing about microgreens is they all grow. I've tried it inside and outside with the egg carton, and that's really, you know, the benefit of using the microgreens, because...
And then how do you harvest? What do you do?
The harvest is fun. You give the children scissors and they just trim it right off, and they just eat it right there. Yeah, give it a haircut.
So do you have a variety of seeds in those microgreens?
You know, you could. We've done it. We've piloted the program with radish.
Or something.
Yeah, because the pretty reds in there and the green, which makes it nice for the kindergartners to record in a journal if they want to bring in writing and art. That way, they can record how their microgreen is growing.
Right.
I'm sure it'd be interesting to do other types, but we just focused on.
So here's the cool concept: this spiraling education, right? So this is Microgreens. It's mostly for those kids. But we use that same microgreen on all grade levels as you go all the way through high school, and you're learning different things. So one interesting thing, I don't know how true it is, but I remember hearing it once, is that a 1-inch square of broccoli microgreen has got the same nutrient in it as an entire head of broccoli. So we know that it's super nutrient rich. And you know, pretty much anything that grows technically could be a microgreen, but there's a lot of different things that are pretty easy to grow as a microgreen. And the idea that this is so nutrient rich and so easy to grow is something that anybody can use anywhere, that you can take these microgreens. And then do you guys talk about foods that these microgreens can go in? Like a sandwich or a stew or what? How do you do that?
Well, one of the nice parts too, we have a little parent letter in there that you can send home in the beginning, with some suggested questions, so you can start talking about your food that you're eating at home. Where did we get these carrots? Yeah, the grocery store, but before that, where did the carrots come from, or whatever it is that the family is eating? So we are engaging the parents and families that way as well. But at the end of the unit, we suggest that you have a harvest day and invite the families in. So
that's fun.
One of the schools that piloted it, it was so cute. They have this U-shaped table, and all the kids brought their different vegetables and favorite things to add to the salad, and they were all on little plates across the whole thing. And so the children went down with their little bowls and they made their own salad, and they sprinkled their microgreens on top. And you know, there's not a lot of 5-year-olds necessarily that are going to eat a salad unless it's something that
they were involved with.
My friend brought in the broccoli or whatever it was. I'm going to try, Mike's broccoli, whatever it is. So it really encourages the families to think about what they're eating as well, if you extend it out to that.
Yeah, well, obviously, the more people you touch in the school environment, the cafeteria, because you can do the microgreens, and you're not growing enough necessarily to feed the whole school, but the cafeteria then can buy microgreens and add it to the sandwiches. Anybody wants to add it to their sandwich or their salad or whatever. So it's kind of cool, because we're tying in the life process. So it's someplace when it gets more sophisticated, we're learning about seeds and germination and storage of seeds. We're learning about soils and the biology, the chemistry of the soil. So a lot of people say, oh, garden-based learning, oh, you're going backward. We buy our stuff at Safeway. We want our kids more on the computer, on the cell phone. But the idea is, with these 4 pedagogies, and with the fact that this is completely designed as being something that's going to help motivate the kid go from concrete to abstract and back. The entire idea of this program is I think it can be replacing or modifying a lot of education, but what it really does is right now is it can supplement. We believe this will increase test scores. So for teachers who want test scores, which they have to live by, right?
Sure.
All around the world. If you talk to parents, again, your kids are getting better test scores, they're more likely getting into a better college if they start this process early. It's really an inquisitive process. It pushes them into the curiosity.
Yeah, and I think keep the curiosity sparked for everybody, because you're showing them perhaps a video of a cultural dance that's all about harvesting, or you're bringing in other curricular areas. We do touch on social studies, science, art, literacy, writing, all across the curriculum, so that teachers can justify that they're doing this hands-on gardening.
So this spirals from these young kids all the way up to senior in high school. And this is just the first semester, which is kind of remedial. Next semester, we'll start bringing in a little more technology, and the microscope, that kind of thing, doing microscopy, so they can actually go to that next level as it gets a little more abstract. but it's still hands-on. They're still hands-on learning how to do stuff. Well, how about if we started this program at the wee greens level, and by the time a kid got out of high school, that student already knows the basis of soils, the basis of seed. They understand the ideas, the basic concepts of nutrition. More importantly, is they're prepared to critically think and collaborate and communicate with others. Wouldn't that be even a more amazing student to get at the university level? And so these are the ideas that this book, that we call that book, I guess it'll be book 7, because we have 4 books. Peter's splitting one from 6th, I think it's 7th grade to senior level. He's going to have a junior high versus high. So he's splitting that one kind of in half. So the 5 books like this, these are the framework, right? These are lesson plans. All teachers, they're already too busy. They're bogged down. They just want literally you to bring in a lesson plan and boom, boom, boom. So I said, well, someplace we have to talk theory. So Peter and I are trying to create, we will create book number 6, which is the idea of all these platforms, how they tie in, the spiraling. It gives a background on each of these pedagogies, but also how does he take standards and apply them to curriculum, because we can do that worldwide. If it's in Sweden or if it's in Mongolia or wherever it is, we can create the same thing without appropriating anybody's culture. You know, we're literally helping them create the same kind of platform. And it's I think that's the concept. Book number 7 then will be in support of kind of the research or the support behind why this is important for us to see worldwide.
That's wonderful.
So that's that. And you know, think about it.
Just to get it the whole way through would be amazing to, see the beginning to the end.
Appreciate
and I know a lot of, thank you. And I know a lot of students who are teachers who are like wanting to get into gardening. They know it would be a good idea, but they just, maybe they're not good with plants themselves. And, I mean, there's just a lot of feelings around it. So using the little K-cups or a little yogurt cup or something
pretty simple.
makes it.
It's like
it all
connecting
grows.
the dots or coloring between the lines now. They have the ability to do it. And then if they're interested in the reason why, they read that 6th book. That's the theory. One thing that we think, we want to be open source. Any country, any city, any state that wants to do it. But they will have to have somebody go out maybe for a weekend or for 4 weeks or a semester to help, kind of as a consulting type of thing. Go bring our materials, help them write it. You can do that remote, but then go to that classroom. So lots of fun. What part of the world do you want to go teach this stuff in? So hopefully you're part of this as we continue going. Peter spoke, very well about you.
Thank you.
So I was looking forward to having this interview and thanking you personally.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Thanks again.
We were actually lucky to hear this week we did get a small grant. So Kim and I will be heading to one of the districts in the fall to start the process. And we really designed it where we'll do a training. They'll try it in their classroom and then come back and talk about it, because like I said earlier, a lot of times you go to those trainings and then
well, people don't understand how hard to create something like this is, and to try to keep it so open. We want it to be worldwide. We want it to be, somebody can attack it, and we want to have a really good foundation for why we put the whole thing together. I think we have something that now other people who are in education can jump on. This isn't a for-profit company that we're dealing with, so it's not, and we're still looking for input from people worldwide. So it's a pretty cool setup. We're excited to finally get out of the gate, so to speak.
Yeah.
So,
and it's nice that it is tailored to each age group, and I really appreciate that kindergarten is separate, because they are a different animal, right? Because some have never been in school before.
So this
They
is
didn't go to preschool, and here
Yeah.
they are in kindergarten. Then you've had some that have been in childcare since they were born,
right.
So you have just such a mix when you're in kindergarten, and they really do deserve their own special.
And a little garden it's ecotherapy, it's therapeutic, it's a social place because everybody's getting together to do stuff, right? It's aesthetic, it's outdoors, so it's or it could be indoors, but either way, it's its own thing that helps bring that school community together and those students together. So, but again, appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much.
Thanks
and
for
thank you
having
for
me.
giving me a signed copy.
Yeah. Oh, I have to sign it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, a signed copy, but
Yeah.
thanks for being here, and I'm sure we'll be spending more time together.
Great. Thanks so
Appreciate
much.
it. For all of you watching today, please subscribe. It's the best way for us to get new things out, like films that we're streaming, or our marketplace, different products that we're going to be putting on, and then all the books. Very soon we will have this first quarter books. There'll be 5 of them, plus the 6th book, which explains the theory and the scalability, and then ideally the 7th book, which really gives us support for the whole concept. And it's pretty exciting. So for all of you out there, appreciate it, and stay in touch. We're about starting. We're about ready to get this thing going.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.